Welcome back to The Price of Business. I'm your host, Kevin Price, talking to you about you and your business. Some great content over there at U.S. Daily Review. Want to check it out, my recent article with U.S. Senator Rand Paul. His last interview he did before the Iowa caucuses, and interesting, very long interview, in fact, for him. It's 15 minutes long. Check it out at usdailyreview.com. Lots of great shows going on over there at Sunday on the TV show on the Biz TV network. One of the guys who's been on the network is my guest this segment, and that's Chris Kidd. And he's, by the way, Chris Kidd, KIDD.com. And we've got an interesting guest today. Chris does a phenomenal job talking about personal finances. He's a financial coach extraordinaire, and we've loved doing great stories on sports and entertainment related, and looking forward to this interview here. I think our first interview outside of you and me for the first of the year, so we're excited about this.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. So tell us about, first of all, more about what you do.
Well, I'm a financial coach, and I help people with any kind of financial issues, from the personal finance side, getting out of debt and managing, personal finances better, to the investment side of learning how to be better investors and understand, how their money works and how to make their money work better for them, and how to be able to utilize their advisors a lot better. And also on the entrepreneurship side, as far as starting businesses, how to turn your, something you're passionate about and something you enjoy into, a profitable business.
Yeah, absolutely. Talk about our guest today.
Well, our guest today is David Wright with the Minor League Baseball organization. Good to have you on, David.
Thanks, Chris. Good to be here.
David, glad to have you on the program. Real quickly, kind of tell us about what you do for the organization.
Well, I'm 4 days in to sunny St. Pete, so we're just getting started. I'm Chief Marketing Officer for Minor League Baseball, and I'll be charged with all things brand and how we commercialize the league. I think we've done an incredible job over the years across the 160 clubs, and a couple years ago came out with an initiative called Project Brand. And so I'll be overseeing that opportunity, and we'll oversee all revenue for the league as well.
Very good. Chris?
Well, prior to this, tell us about some of the other things you did. I know you worked with Major League Soccer and did some interesting stuff there. Kind of how did that – tell us about that, and then kind of how you transitioned from there into the baseball.
Sure. So I was with MLS for 15 years. And as I like to say, I grew up with the league because in many respects I did. I was very fortunate to be on the ground really from the beginning and saw firsthand the growth of not only the sport but the league. It's pretty common knowledge that the early days of MLS, it was tough. It was tough to market the sport, let alone monetize, and to be able to see the growth of the league and the game was a lot of fun. So as I looked to the future, there was a number of things that really got me excited about minor league baseball. I had kind of been watching from the periphery, and it is long known, the creativity and the progressive nature of minor league baseball. Just the opportunity as you think about it. I mean, it's interesting because, it's in some respects it's a 100-year-old startup. You've got these clubs that have had tremendous success for generations, and now with this emphasis to aggregate that massive scale really got me excited. And I think there's a lot of whiteboard space and opportunity, and I think the future looks really, really bright, not only for minor league sport, but specifically for minor league baseball.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you're absolutely right. Talk a little bit about how minor league baseball is, different, obviously, besides getting paid from Major League Baseball.
Yeah, I mean, it's interesting when you look at the sport holistically. There's no other sport that has this type of infrastructure. I mean, in theory, you've got 190 markets, 190 touch points between the major leagues and the minor leagues, and that's incredibly powerful. So obviously, the athlete on the field is a little bit different. But one of the great stories, guys, I saw a stat the other day. Since 1965, all but 20 players that have played in the major leagues started their career in minor league baseball.
Wow.
So when you think about that, and you think about it from a marketing perspective, every single one of those athletes has a story.
Say that
how
again. How many?
I think it's going to be really, really important and something that I'm excited to dig in on.
Say that number again. That was pretty extraordinary.
Yeah, since 1965, it's something like only 20 players that have played in Major League Baseball didn't start their career at some level in minor league baseball.
Yeah,
so
and
you talk about the infrastructure and you talk about the player development. Those are thousands and thousands of players that are starting their career in Frisco with the Rough Riders or Dayton with the Dragons, and working their way up to the big leagues. And that connectivity between major league and minor league, I think, is something really special. But then the storytelling, and you think about the commercial marketplace, and you guys will appreciate this from the seat you're in. Brands are all about content, and they want to be authentically integrated into great stories. And guess what? We've got 42 million fans that crave that type of content, and we're really excited to provide it.
Yeah, by the way, growing up in Detroit, that was one of the things that was on Al Kaline's resume. He never played in the minor league, not one single game. He went straight into the pros. And he, of course, is one of those people, is part of that elite club that was elected the first attempt into the Hall of Fame. I bet you all 20 of those guys were first-timers, first votes into the Hall of Fame. It's a very select group who didn't need the minor leagues.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Chris?
Yeah, that's pretty amazing. So I guess even the guys that get drafted, straight out of high school or out of college or whatnot, everybody, it's kind of like warming up, huh? And going to the minors.
Yeah, you're refining your trade and working hard every single day to get your shot.
What's the average time, I guess, from somebody? Not necessarily somebody that's been playing in the minor leagues trying to make it to the big show, but somebody who they already know they want to bring up to the majors. What's kind of the average time that they might spend in the minor leagues?
I don't quote me on it, Chris. I think it's going to vary pretty significantly. You've got a number of scenarios. I mean, you've got, to your point, you've got kids that are drafted out of high school that are going to be in the minor leagues for some time, and then you've got guys that are big leaguers that are injured, that are dropping down to rehab and get back into form. So I think it really varies by the player.
I want to mention, by the way, the website for minor league baseball, MILB.com, MILB.com. Does your preseason operate a lot like the pros, where you're all in Arizona or in Florida in the preseason getting ready? How does that differ or similar?
Yeah, it's very similar. So, we'll have the preseason coming up here in the very near future. And obviously Florida, where we're at, is a big mecca for a lot of preseason stuff. But I got to tell you, we're looking at some interesting and creative things to potentially do when you think about it from a marketing perspective. And another thing that got me really excited is, our ability to think differently, our ability to be progressive and to be a thought leader in the space. So I think we're gonna look at a couple things that might be unique, that drive some not only commercial value but great marketing value for minor league baseball and the clubs.
Gotta love it, Chris.
David, how many minor league baseball teams are there?
Yeah, it's a good question. So 160 clubs, which when you think about it, I mean, if I had a heat map, you'd see. I mean, you talk about a national footprint. It's unbelievable. And when I think back to my early days at MLS, there was a time when there were only 10 teams. Mm-hmm. And it's really tough to call yourself a national property when you've only got 10 markets. So it's a pretty impressive footprint. Those 160 clubs are obviously in the U.S. and Canada. So you've got an international component as well. And when you think about the marketing muscle, we got it because we got the scale and we got the footprint.
Is that range from rookie all the way up to AAA?
It does.
Yeah.
It does.
Yeah. Very interesting. Chris? By the way, this is going to have to be the final question for this segment, but we're grateful we get to keep you on, David, for another one.
Love it.
I don't know, David, if you've had time to really get enough time to answer this, but have you noticed quite a huge difference from dealing with, like you said, a handful of teams with soccer versus
100 plus teams?
Yeah, almost 200 teams with baseball? I mean, is the headache a little bit bigger?
I'm going to use a different term. I don't think it's a headache. I think, hey, it's natural when you have the scale that we do, aligning everything and wrapping your arms around the opportunity. Obviously, there's some unique challenges to the scale that we have. But, the great thing is it's actually an incredible opportunity. And I think the foundation has already been laid. There's a lot of great work that's been done in terms of really building out the commercial opportunity. But no question, making sure that everyone's on the same page takes a little bit of time. But fortunately, another one of the great things that got me excited is we've got an incredible group of progressive owners. They get it. They've got big ideas. They want to do things and set the tone. And when you have that type of leadership and you have those types of personalities that are thinking forward, it makes things pretty exciting.
David Wright, he is with Minor League Baseball, and we're going to continue our conversation, Chris Kidd and myself. Chris Kidd is a regular contributor on The Price of Business. Chris Kidd, KIDD.com. Stay tuned for more right here on The Price of Business.